Let's face it, you'll probably never be a Premier League player, manager, or even pundit. But what if I told you that there is another Premier League role that you could realistically get? One that is posted on ordinary job sites like LinkedIn that normal people like you and me have access to. A role where you could work behind the scenes at top clubs, influencing tactical decisions and helping to discover the next big signing. In this video, I'm going to reveal exactly what that role is, show you the specific tasks that these professionals do every day that most fans never see, and give you the exact roadmap to land one of these positions, even if you've never worked in this role before. Here's the moment that changed football forever, and it didn't even happen in football. In 2002, the Oakland Athletics baseball team had a problem that every small club faces. No money to compete with the Giants. But their general manager, Billy Beane, tried to do something that seemed impossible. Instead of buying the best players, he bought the most undervalued players. And using a Harvard economics grad and a computer, they found the players that traditional scouts had written off, but the data said were brilliant. And you've probably already heard of the story. Oakland went on to perform incredibly, spending only a fraction of what the big guns did. Because this use of data was so successful, it wouldn't be long before Premier League clubs wanted a piece of the data-driven knowledge. The same principles that revolutionized baseball are now transforming how football clubs find players, implement tactics, and make decisions. Clubs are no longer just asking, can this player score goals? They're asking, what are his expected goals? What is his pass completion when under pressure? And what tactical systems maximizes output? The people driving this revolution? Football data scientists. Put simply, football data scientists are responsible for collecting, analyzing, and interpreting vast amounts of football data. And here's the key part. They use that data to improve the team's performance in real, measurable ways. But what does the day-to-day actually look like? On Monday morning after a weekend of matches, when fans are debating whether their team should have lost on Twitter, the data scientist is already 3, 4, 5 steps ahead. They aren't just looking at the final scoreline. Instead, they're looking into the 3 distinct types of data that tell the complete story of the 90 minutes. First, there's performance data, the metrics you recognize from apps like SofaScore, pass completion, defensive actions, shots on target, but they're digging deeper. They're asking which passing lanes did the opposition exploit? How did our pressing intensity decline in the final 20 minutes? And then there's event data, the really complex stuff where every single thing that happens on the pitch gets recorded. This comprehensive data usually isn't available to the public, like you and me, and is collected by big stats companies like Opta and StatsBomb, who then sell it on to clubs. They collect every pass from coordinate A to coordinate B, every tackle, every movement. They're using this to answer questions like, what were the flaws in our tactical plan? What were the most effective combinations? Which of our potential transfer targets would fit perfectly into this system? And then there's positional data, GPS tracking that shows distance covered, sprint speeds, heat maps. They're working with this data from training sessions to prevent injuries before they even happen, or to determine the most effective positional relationships between players. Because each match produces so much data, they're in a dilemma: infinite access to data, but no insight from that data. And that is why a football data scientist is so valuable. But here's the kicker. Football data scientists aren't all doing the same job. Just like in medicine where different doctors have different specialties, the same is true here. And depending on which type of data scientist you become, your day-to-day looks completely different. Some are focused on recruitment and they basically hunt hidden gems. These are people identifying skills that conventional football stats completely miss. They're building predictive models that can tell you if a 19-year-old striker in the Belgian second division has the potential to score 20 goals in the Premier League 3 years from now. Others are more focused on a match-by-match on-the-pitch basis. They're the ones who develop metrics like pitch control and measuring which area of the pitch that each team controls at any given moment. They're answering, in my opinion, probably the most interesting and complex questions. And then there's the performance-based data scientists. They work behind the scenes to keep players healthy, using GPS trackers and wearable devices to build models to flag if a player is at risk of injury 2 weeks before it happens, allowing coaches to adjust the training schedule. To be honest, there's too many specialties to actually cover here, but now that you know the what, how do you actually become one? What are the skills that you actually need? This is where people tend to get it wrong, and it's why so many brilliant minds fail to break into football data. Yes, you need the technical programming foundations like Python for data manipulation, SQL for chatting with databases, machine learning for models, and visualization tools like Tableau to create dashboards that coaches actually want to look at. But here's a secret that nobody talks about. The best football data scientists aren't just data scientists who happen to work in football. They are problem solvers who speak the language of football and happen to be good at programming. When a manager says we're struggling against teams that play a deep block, they can immediately translate that to we need to analyze our creative passing against a deep block, for example, and identify player movements that create an advantage in the smaller spaces. But the bottom line, anybody can learn to code, but clubs will pay a premium for people who can code and bring value through their analysis of the data. I only just brushed past how to get into the space, but this video has a detailed roadmap showing you exactly how to build these skills systematically.